What is happening, savages? You are listening to the throat of a mortal coil. Your future minister of whiskey mysticism, revolution is my name, and I bid you welcome. How the fuck is everybody doing? We're going to go ahead and start the show out, as we always do, by paying respects to the chat. We got Random Brad Creator, hail. We got Snow Dub, music and entertainment. Hail, gonna go eat some dinner, but I'll be listening in. Random Brad feels like a beer. No shit, son. So I'm drinking Milwaukee's Best tonight, which is not a top shelf item, but I'll tell you what, it's a higher ABV and it actually tastes like beer. So, grab whatever the fuck you like. We got also this guy, Taylor M. I hope that M is short for immortal, because yes, all of us are. Hail, cheers, Random Brad, much love, Snowdub. So I appreciate you guys checking in and fucking giving a shit about what's going on a fine Wednesday night. It is February the 17th, 2021. It is 6:40 p.m. on the West Coast. It's likely later if you're further east. And we're here to talk some shit about Buffy the Vampire Slayer creator, Joss Whedon, who I respect his penmanship, but cancel culture is really like zeroing in on this motherfucker. But is it of warrant? I mean, did this guy do something creepy? Is he doing something like shady? Is it something that we should be concerned about? Or is this just all a bunch of like press flexing, And that's one of those things, like, I've noticed that op-eds tend to be polling pieces for the audience. How's the fucking show doing? Let's like float out a bullshit article on garbage tier media so that we can ascertain whether or not these people are actually engaged and they're prepared to give us money. Now, listen, everybody else is talking about Gina Carano and Carol Dune. Carol Dune. I should have called her Karen Dune because that's how people are fucking treating her. Cara Dune, who actually behind Yoda and, Mando, I would even say Bill Burr is like more popular than Mando, but like behind those guys, she's like the strong fucking chick that they tried to pump up and make her the muscle in the fucking show. Plenty of other channels have gone into that fucking angle in gruesome detail. So I'm not gonna do that. You guys can go and fucking watch World Class Bullshitters or somebody like that who actually did their homework and talks wisely about that. But the other big story that I saw slipping through the fingers of the fandom menace that is much more, I don't want to say pertinent. I want to say like this is of equal standing with Gina Carano getting fired. She got tacitly fired, but what's happening is Joss Whedon has been sitting as a boiled fucking egg in the shit that he's been, if you believe the actors who are speaking out about him, his business practices and general disposition and the ways that he tries to get people to motivate themselves hasn't been sitting well with the principal actors in the TV series that bolstered him up to become like a major motion picture heralder. Is that a fucking word? Heralder. So yeah, so just to give you guys some background, and this is where we get to sit down and connect with each other. I probably saw the movie version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer shortly after it first came out, and it was okay, but it wasn't like earth shaking. You know, it wasn't Star Wars: The New Hope. Okay, what it was some kind of like maybe Gremlins Part One, kind of like, okay, that's all right. Um, you know, uh, I think The Lost Boys was probably a better vampire movie, and it either predecessed Buffy, or it was like roughly a contemporary. But you look back then and like the vampire kind of shit, like what was going on even. I think Beauty and the Beast was still on TV. Linda Hamilton and Daniel Day-Lewis. Is that who that was? I'm sure the chat will correct me. But so you had that thing going on in sort of like monster lore. You had the Gremlins going on in cinema. Bram Stoker was still like a few years down the line past that point. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a film was very campy in a very comic book sort of arena sense. He had that sort of sensibility as a writer. And Random Brad forgot about Dre. You're forgiven, sir. You're forgiven. Just wrench the fuck out of the show, and then we'll go from there. So I saw that movie, and I was just kind of like, okay, you know, this thing ain't terribly great, but it ain't terribly bad. Great, that's a movie I saw. And then later on, I heard that it was being developed for TV. And I was like, okay, how good could this possibly be? And I think when it first started out, it was on the CW. So that should tell you something. The CW. The fucking garbage pile of superhero and anecdotal, you know, sideways, forgettable shit. And it followed the fucking pattern. Okay, and this is why I also had a hard time with Smallville when it first came out, because you'd have the kids go to school and like some fucking weird shit happened, and then they met up at the club that had the band that was being promoted, who probably was on the label of the same, like, you know, producer. So like if Warner Brothers owned XYZ fucking shit. And Taylor M is challenging me. Original CW was good. Maybe. But what I'm saying is it followed a formula. So it had this thing, yeah. So you'd meet up at the club, you'd listen to the band, and they'd perform their hit. And then the people would have like the chalkboard meeting scene, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the pointer scene, where they're like, okay, here's the Ark, here's where it lives, here's what you have to do. Why don't you go do it? Except like we were having to listen to fucking Cranberries or somebody, which I don't know. I don't appreciate that cover. The Cranberries nailed it as they did. And actually after the first 3 times I heard it, that's probably all the times I needed to hear it. But you know, that was just their modus operandi. The other thing that Buffy the TV show did was they used their library as their clubhouse, as their meeting point where they did the pointer scene. You know, Smallville, just like Buffy, had its hits and misses. Joss Whedon was involved in Buffy. He was not involved in Smallville. So we definitely have to make that distinction. So anyway, like in my awareness, Buffy went on, and like I didn't pay attention because I thought it was like a campy bullshit CW kind of TV show. It's like Dawson's Creek, but it has vampires at that time. And it took my dad and my brother to be like, no, this is actually a really good show. And they're like, listen, there's going to be some like horse shit and there's some like dorkery and some, you know, geek stuff. But if you pay attention to the overall arc of each season, you're actually going to have a good time. So I said, okay, I'm taking this on your reputation as my dad and your reputation as my brother. I'm going to fucking check this shit out. Well, lo and behold, I actually, especially around the 4th or 5th season, really got hooked on it. So the first season or two of any show, I don't care what show it is, camera people are still figuring shit out. Directors of photography are still figuring shit out. The writers are still figuring shit out. Like Star Trek The Next Generation, one of my favorite shows ever. The first two seasons were balls. 3 actually picked up and started to put us in that Star Trek TNG zone. And I would make the same argument about Buffy. You know, there was that big thing about like Angel and Buffy, and can a Slayer and a vampire lie on the same bed? Turns out they can't, because it turns out that the moment that Angel experience a pure moment of happiness, he goes to the dark side. He loses his soul. He becomes a monster. And Buffy had to fucking kill him, more or less. So that was harrowing. I really dug that arc. And when it came time for shit to come to a head, that was very poignant. So much so that they actually gave David Boreanaz, who played Angel, his own fucking show. And Buffy continued on to do other vampires. But yeah. So fast forward a couple years, Buffy was a hit. Angel was a hit. Buffy and Angel both got to run out their seasons. They told a complete story. Pretty much everybody had a full story arc. And Joss Whedon was the mother brain behind all that shit. Okay. So you take somebody, and if you're a Hollywood studio and you're producing movies that are intended to go past 100, no, if you're making movies that are intended to go past $1 billion, you only want to hire the top talent, and you want to test screen the fuck out of them, and you want to make sure that the writing is mainstream enough that people want to come in and chew popcorn and stare at your fucking thing. And in that vein, Joss Whedon did a good job on some of the Avengers movies. Some of them, not all of them. So much so that DC was like, well, if you can work for them, you can work for us, right? What do you think about that? And he was like, okay, let's fucking do something. And they were like, well, listen, Snyder had to leave this project because some bad shit happened to his family. So can you come in and can you take over? And he's like, okay, I'll take a look at it. But Joss Whedon ended up rewriting much of what Zack Snyder had intended for his movie. And we got what we got. It wasn't bad, but it was like hastily put together. And I think when people are taking people, what I mean is the people who put together movies, when you can tell that they're under pressure, under deadline, when they're over budget, all that shit kind of comes out in the production. Unless your movie is called The Empire Strikes Back, you can't fucking touch that thing. Don't even talk to me about that. But if you're doing something like Justice League, it was rushed. There was no build up to that moment where everybody comes together. It was like, okay, they're going to come together here and we're going to explain this later on. So please buy the ticket. Please take the ride. Please chew the popcorn. We'll get you on the next fucking ride around the block, yo. You know, it's like, get in, loser. We're doing butt stuff with Justice League. They certainly did. And okay, so the thing is, like, Zack Snyder had shot most of what he wanted his movie to be. Like, and most of it was like green screen shit. You know, they're gonna dress these guys up in golf ball fucking bodysuits and paste on their costume later. They're gonna paste in the exploding city behind them. But it was in the can. And then Joss Whedon came in and did his thing to the script and like called in millions and millions of dollars of reshoots, and all in the hopes that he could take what was there and then make it popcorn chewable for a general audience. That's where the salute goes. How I Met Your Mother. But then we started hearing that there were cracks in the dam. Okay. We started hearing that Joss Whedon was not the most professional of directors. So I'm gonna see if I can find a audio clip. The loud clacking is me searching the internet. Now, what I'm actually trying to find is something from the horse's mouth and not something that's being parroted by a channel such as mine. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. Okay. I can't find any video footage, so I'm going to pull up this news article, and I hold these in air quotes because I don't imagine that ET Online is a very reliable news source. As we discussed before, a lot of websites like this like to position op-eds as news articles, and their sole intention is to gauge audience interest. So, okay, Ray Fisher, with his super neat haircut, accuses Joss Whedon with a 5 head of abusive, unprofessional behavior on Justice League set. So don't watch ET live. Don't buy a bed from these fuckers. So Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, completely unacceptable, enabled in many ways by producers Jeff Johns and John Berg. Accountability is greater than entertainment, Fisher concluded in his tweet, to use a math term. Okay. Here he is with Jason Momoa. ET has reached around to Fisher, Whedon, and Warner Brothers. And this was a little while ago. This was July 1st, 2020. So this shit kind of came up, and because Fisher is a black actor, it got a certain amount of traction. So what can we do to get more traction against this? And the more important question actually is, who is Joss Whedon pissing off that he's under the fucking crosshairs? We don't know. We don't know. Tommy says, unprofessional. I showed up just in time. Thanks, motherfucker. Beat the trolls over the head with the wrench. We only got 3 people watching right now anyway, so I don't think you have anybody really to worry about. But we're just putting the monocle on Joss Whedon. Random Brad has my info. This is my address and the details. Come and find me. I'm an asshole. I'll own up to that. I drink too much beer and I do construction in the daytime. So, I get online and I grumble about shit that pisses me off. There is shit that makes me happy, and you'll find that in my regular videos. I'm actually really enjoying WandaVision. It started off kind of strange, but then it got interesting. And as Vision figures out more about what Wanda's actually doing, the show's getting deeper and deeper. I'm not really super fucking happy about Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, but what I am happy about is that it seems like we're going to see Rogue drain Carol Danvers. And oh my God, I'm gonna bring some coconut oil to the movie theater, if you know what I mean. If you know what I'm saying. Okay. So Ray Fisher's not happy. He's like, look, this dude's a dick. I don't know what he thinks. I don't know why he acts this way on set. I guess he writes okay, but what the fuck? He's treating me sideways. Okay. Fast forward. So I'm going to have to pull up the next fucking tab. We got Charisma Carpenter. And if you're a fan of Buffy and Angel, you'll know her as Cordelia Chase. Now, Charisma Carpenter is hot as fuck, and I think most of us who like women would surely enjoy some private time with her. But if you remember her story arc, she starts off in Buffy, and she's like a totally self-absorbed teenage bitch. She's like the cheerleader who would like pull out her gum out of her mouth and like stick it on your forehead and go, you got gum on your face, and like walk away. But she's so hot that you're just like almost willing to put up with gum on your face just to say that she touched you. Now she goes through some shit. She visits alternate realities, and this is some of why I can connect to the Buffyverse, okay? Because they talk about multi-dimensionality. They talk about worlds between worlds. They talk about dimensions that humans cannot perceive because we just don't have the sensory organs to figure out the entire reality. I remember this one show, and I think it was an Angel, where she got transported to the demon dimension, and instead of calling her human, they called her a cow. Like, oh, that's a cow. And it's so funny. Like, I was like, I know a couple cows. Is that cool to say? Probably not. I'm just a dork. True that, Immortal Coil. Thank you, Taylor. I'm not sure that that's what you were exactly highlighting, but yeah. So Carpenter apparently has PTSD about her time on Buffy with Joss Whedon and her time on Angel with Joss Whedon. So we're gonna fast forward. I don't give a shit about what who is this? Matt Webb Midovich. Good job, Matt. I'm glad you got your article out there. What I'm really interested is, excuse me, what I'm really interested in is this pull quote from Charisma Carpenter, and I don't know if I have the. Okay, so he's transcribing this. I'm hoping that this is fucking accurate. I know a couple of tabs down we're going to encounter what she actually said, but this is the quote that is reported by Matt. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so she says, for nearly 2 decades, we fought for 10 decades for the gods they made, and they shouted out who killed the Kennedys when after all it was you and me. Okay. For nearly 2 decades, I have held my tongue and even made excuses for certain events that traumatize me to this day, says Charisma Carpenter. Joss Whedon abused his power on numerous occasions while working on the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. While he found his misconduct amusing, it only served to intensify my performance anxiety, disempower me, and alienate me from my peers. The disturbing incidents triggered a chronic physical condition from which I still suffer. It is with a beating, heavy heart that I say I coped in isolation and at times destructively. Okay, so it sounds like Charisma Carpenter ate or drank her feelings because of what she had to endure on the set of blah, 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 blah. She continues. Last summer, when Ray Fisher publicly accused Joss of abusive and unprofessional behavior toward the cast and crew during reshoots on the Justice League set in 2017, it gutted me. Joss has a history of being casually cruel. He has created hostile and toxic work environments since his early career. I know because I experienced it firsthand, repeatedly. We got Keely Chow in the comments. Hey, everybody. Hey, Keely Chow. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about Joss Whedon. We're talking about Charisma Carpenter's experiences. She continues, like his ongoing passive-aggressive threats to fire me, which wreaks havoc on a young actor's self-esteem, and callously calling me fat to colleagues when I was 4 months pregnant, weighing 126 pounds. He was mean and biting, disparaging about others openly, and often played favorites, putting people against one another to compete and vie for his attention and approval. So it sounds like she's setting him up to be a patriarch. She continues, he called me fat. He called me in for a sit-down meeting to interrogate and berate me regarding a rosary tattoo I got to help make me feel more spiritually grounded in an increasingly volatile work comment that affected me physically. So this paragraph seems like it's saying that she got her rosary tattoo in order to boost her self-confidence while performing scenes on a studio that was not happy for her. Okay. Joss intentionally refused multiple calls from my agents, making it impossible to connect with him to tell him the news that I was pregnant. Finally, once Joss was apprised of the situation, he requested a meeting with me. In that closed-door meeting, he asked me if I was going to keep it, and manipulatively weaponized my womanhood and faith against me. He proceeded to attack my character, mock my religious beliefs, accused me of sabotaging the show, and then unceremoniously fired me the following season once I gave birth. At 6 months pregnant, I was asked to report at work at 1 a.m. after my doctor recommended shortening my work hours. Hour too long. This should have 2 O's, whoever transcribed this. Our too long and physically demanding days and the emotional stress of having to defend my needs as a working pregnant woman, I began to experience Braxton Hicks contractions. It was clear to me that a 1 a.m. call was retaliatory. So Braxton Hicks is where you're contracting and you're, as a woman, you're contracting, but it's not time yet. Now she's saying that was brought on because of stress. It's her fucking perspective. Back then, I felt powerless and alone. With no other option, again, like, okay, did she write this like that? Or did you just copy and paste? Or do you not know how to parenthesize things? So you could say SIC and put those in parentheses, and this would be a journalistically accurate article. So with no other option, I swallowed the mistreatment and carried on. After all, I had a baby on the way, and I was the primary breadwinner of my growing family. Unfortunately, all this was happening during one of the most wonderful time in new motherhood. All that promise and joy sucked right out, and Joss was the vampire. Wow, this woman has some ire for this guy. Despite the harassment, part of me still sought his validation. I made excuses for his behavior and repressed my own pain. I have even stated publicly at conventions that I'd work with him again. Only recently, after years of therapy, pickup call from the Time's Up movement. I don't even know what the fuck that is. If you guys in the chat know what Time's Up is, fucking let me know. I do understand the complexities of this demoralized thinking. It is impossible to understand the psyche without enduring the abuse. Our society and industry vilify the victims and glorify the abusers for their accomplishments. The onus, that is an interesting word, the onus is on the abused with an expectation to accept and adapt to be employable. No accountability on the transgressor who sails on the unscathed, unrepentant, remorseless. Okay, so Joss Whedon is the devil. What about Guardians of the Galaxy? Okay. How come he gets to walk away? Gets rehired? And this is what I mean. There's a lot of like backdoor politics going on in entertainment. So if you have a high enough value property, it seems like you get away with more than you would be afforded if you were the new guy on the block. And at this point, Joss Whedon had a decade of success, maybe 2 decades before he came to the silver screen. So, yeah. Tommy says Time's Up is kind of like a Me Too movement. Okay, that makes sense. I can believe that. Because this is kind of like, and I'm not saying it's not valid. I don't have enough information at this point to make a unequivocal statement. You know, I'm going to review what the actors and actresses who worked with him said versus you know, what the media is trying to push. Because we all know the media is a I actually have an article later on from a website called vulture.com, so that should tell you what they're like. So, despite the harassment, I just did that. The memories and more have weighed on my soul like bricks for nearly half of my life. Because this was like 25 years ago when it started for her, if I remember. I wish I said something sooner. I wish I had the composure and courage all those years ago, but I muted myself in shame and conditioned silence. With tears welling, I fear an overwhelming sense of responsibility to Ray and others for remaining private about my experience with Joss and suffering it and the suffering it has caused me. It is abundantly evident that Joss has persisted in his harmful actions, continuing to create wreckage in his wake. My hope now, by finally coming forward about these experiences, is to create space for the healing of others who I know who have experienced similar serialized abused abuse, Charisma Carpenter, of power. Um, and again, I hope it's just this guy miscopying it, because this actually feels like a very heartwarming story from a publicist. Recently, I participated in Warner Media's Justice League investigation because I believe Ray to be a person of integrity who is telling the truth. I don't want to look at this bitch, so I'm going to. His firing as Cyborg in The Flash was the last straw for me. Although I am not shocked, I am deeply pained by it. It troubles and saddens me that in 2021, professionals still have to choose between whistleblowing in the workplace and job security. It has taken me so long to muster the courage to make the statement publicly. The gravity of it is not lost on me. As a single mother whose family's livelihood is dependent on my craft, I'm scared. Despite my dear about its impact on my future. See, that doesn't make sense either. I can no longer remain silent. Despite my fear. So the D is a typo. The F is the next key over. Despite my fear about its impact on my future, I can no longer remain silent. This is overdue and unnecessary. It is time. End quote. Now it says Amber Benson, blah, blah, blah. I actually have her on a different tab, so we will examine her statements as the show carries on. But the thing that I understand about Ray Fisher, was that when it came back to the Snyder cut, he was so unhappy about how his character was portrayed that he didn't want to be in the movie anymore, and they cut him out. And then after he was cut out, he felt shortchanged, and then that's when all that other shit fucking went down. So, okay. So that was Charisma Carpenter's experience. And the thing is that other things have transpired in the, the interim. It's kind of crazy. So let's check in with you guys. Tommy says, I would like to transport all those SJW cancel culture easily offended automatons to Bikini Atoll. Yes, where they had like very crazy megaton nuclear experiments. So, yeah, Tommy, you're silly. I wouldn't mind that either, honestly. So, yeah. He also says those people must be extremely tired with all the mental gymnastics they do. I believe so. Okay. So I am actually trying to find you guys um, some appropriate. I gotta go take a whiz. So so I gotta find some music for you. This is why it's hard to do a show without a you know co-host. 609. Okay. Okay. So I'm about to share a screen, and you're gonna have some like wonderful music, and in my head, this is kind of what it sounds like to take a piss. So enjoy. Okay. So now that I'm back with a empty bladder, yeah, everybody's giving me shit about that. Well, if you don't have a co-host and you need to take a piss, then guess what? Yeah, you're gonna have to play some Mozart and hope that everybody, you know, winds up slightly more educated than when they came to the stream. So thankfully, Thor did not put Mjolnir on the fucking commode lid, so I was able to piss in peace. I was able to give my tribute, as it were. So okay, so we've been talking about Joss Whedon. We've been talking about how um, on the DC movies, Ray Fisher accused him of being oppressive, and then all these Buffy and Angel, actors end up coming out and mirroring to some extent the oppressive nature of Joss's leadership style. And my question to you guys is, okay, who did he piss off to warrant being canceled? And that's not to say that he's not a dick. I mean, a lot of guys who produced shit in the 80s and 90s had to adopt a dick kind of attitude. And I don't know Joss Whedon from Adam. I've never met him, I've never talked to him. All I have to go off of is these articles, which I'm trying to use the pull quotes instead of using the people who authored them. You didn't get any music? Oh, Jesus Christ. Did you actually hear me pissing? Was that like part of the show? Okay. Well, shit. I almost want to play the music now. It was Imagination music, yeah. It's Imagination Land. Remember that kid? That's Imagination Land. Well, because this is actually one of my favorite Mozart pieces, and I was just thinking, like, okay, this thing is so like amazing that you could take a piss to it. I'm actually, Like I feel like I cheated you guys, and like I need to replay it. Like I don't have to piss again, but like you need to hear the song because it's fucking badass. So I'm gonna share audio this time. You know, and I should have learned this on my previous encounter. So we're gonna go into here. We're gonna blow this up. Yes, this is what taking a piss sounds like to me. Yeah, so that's what you should have heard while I was pissing. Um, Hopefully, you didn't hear me actually pissing. And if you did hear me actually piss, then this is a very special moment for all of us right now. Um, Bone. Bone says, that's what it would sound like if Mozart took a piss. I feel more educated and cultured. Yes, sir, because every time Mozart's piss hit the water, it's guaranteed that the splashings went to different orchestral sections. So one splashing went to the woodwinds, one splashing went to the springs or the strings, as it were. And have you ever seen Amadeus, Bone? Where he's like, that's like one of the best movies that you will ever see. Um, and Mark Hamill actually starred in the stage production. So there you go. There's your Star Wars thing. Tommy says, I tipped the piss boy bucket holder by throwing the change in the bucket. Yeah, well, because you can affect where gravity goes. And I don't know. Did you drill holes in the bottom of your bucket? Is that just like solely like a piss bucket, or are you suspending it over the toilet with perhaps a broomstick? These are the things we like to know on the Immortal Coil stream. Okay, so moving on with this Joss Whedon story, we have this thing from Michelle Trachtenberg, and Michelle Trachtenberg on the show played Buffy's younger sister who appeared out of fucking nowhere. And apparently Joss Whedon was forbidden from being alone with Michelle Trachtenberg on the Buffy set, according to Mira Jacobs 6 days ago. Which is funny because, like, you look at her and yeah, she's cute, and you probably, you know, like you cast her to be cute. You cast her to be the cute little kid, and I don't know, like the way the article's title is insinuating is maybe Joss Whedon thought she was a little too cute. Okay. So blah 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 blah. What I want to find is her pull quote, because I don't give a shit about what Mira Jacobs has to say, really. What I want to hear is what Michelle Trachtenberg has to say. So she's 35 now. She's a full-grown adult, but she's able to reflect on 20 years ago. So she goes, while I am proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers, I don't want to forever be, while I am proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers, I don't want to be forever associated with the name Joss Whedon. I am more focused on raising my family and surviving a pandemic currently. So I will not be making any further statements at this time, but I stand with all the survivors of abuse and am proud of them for speaking out. Okay. So that doesn't really say anything about not being alone with her. Um, okay, so she also says, "Thank you at Sarah M. Geller for saying this. I am brave enough now as a 35-year-old woman, dot, 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 ellipses, to repost this because this must be known as a teenager with his not appropriate behavior, ellipses, very not appropriate." I really hate the way she writes. Like I can't really animate her voice. I wish Ethan Van Sciver was here to read this part, because he does this kind of shit like a fucking pro, like a comic artist pro. But she's like, "Thank you at Sarah M. Gellar for saying this. I'm brave enough now as a 35-year-old woman to repost this because this must be known as a teenager with his not appropriate behavior. Very not appropriate. So now people know what Josh did. The last comment I will make on this was there was a rule saying he's not allowed in the room alone with Michelle again." Okay. Now, so that's a very interesting point, Tommy. So was the accusation that he went and did a fucking Louis, 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 you're gonna die. Like, did he do that? Did he whip out his little Whedon in front of Michelle Trachtenberg? Or did he say something like, "Oh yeah, you look cute in that top, and I can totally, just something you shouldn't say to a 15-year-old girl if you're the showrunner and you're the head writer and you're the mostly director and all that kind of shit." And listen, I gave Michelle Trachtenberg a very dramatic upread in this fucking thing. But really, is she gonna talk about what happened, or is she just gonna be like, "Well, he was a little bit sideways"? I don't know. I guess we have to read on. And again, I'm not really interested in this person's editorial. I'm interested in the pull quotes. So we're gonna blast past that. And I guess that's all we get from this CBR article from Mira Jacobs. So bye bye. But you saw how young she was. She was like 14, 15, and she alone in her room with Joss Whedon because he's too well, she didn't fucking explain it, did she? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we got two more articles to move through, and then I'll jump off your dick. Here we go. Elijah Dushku, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and more Buffy stars respond to Joss Whedon misconduct allegations. Okay, so Elijah Dushku was Faith, and when Buffy died, a new Slayer was called, and that was Faith. And Buffy came back, so then there were suddenly two Slayers on the fucking TV show. Faith was actually a little bit darker than Buffy. She didn't have as true ideals, and she was willing to exploit her power and her sexuality in order to meet her ends. Doesn't matter what they were. There were times where they were diametrically opposed to what the Scooby Gang, that's what they called themselves, the Scooby Gang was trying to achieve. You know. gonna see if I can do this. I actually have to look up one more thing, and I'm scared that it's going to display to you guys before I'm ready for it too. So let's see here. God, it's terrible. Okay, I think I figured this out. So it says, so more female stars respond to Joss Whedon misconduct allegations, and this is from Entertainment Tonight by Desiree Murphy. And again, place as much faith in the fucking stock as you do regular Entertainment Tonight. And again, I'm looking for pull quotes. I'm not looking for their fucking talking head shit. So here's what Elijah Dushku actually posted. So, yes, Taylor, here we go with the fucking real shit. That's the only reason anybody comes around here, right? She says, Charisma Carpenter. Sorry, I have to take another swig of beer for that. I have to psych myself up. Okay. Charisma Carpenter. My heart aches for you, and I'm so sorry you've held this for so long. Your post was powerful, painful, and painted a picture we'll all collectively never unsee or unknow. Thank you. I hadn't known it, and I won't forget it. Okay, so right away it's like I'm validating your experience. We hear you. We love you. I'm sorry that fucking shit happened to you. And she goes, I frequently think of the saying, we are as sick as our secrets. Our secrets indeed make and keep us sick. What I'm learning more and more, and have personally found most valuable, is that profound healing can only come from naming and disclosing what actually happened. The necessary first step, once he's ready, to freeing ourselves from our secrets, untold truths, which have kept us isolated, ashamed, and held hostage. Neglecting to name the power, gender, sexual, racial abuse epidemic in the entertainment industry, and for that matter, society in general, enables the abusers and only emboldens and ultimately fortifies abusive systems. So Elijah Dushku has some command over the English language. She knows how to punctuate to a degree. She knows how to set up some fucking exposition. So, okay, this is interesting. Random Brad says, beers are going down here. Snow. Because Snow wants a beer. Snow, go fucking get a beer. What's up, man? I'm drinking a Milwaukee Best right now. You know, I had a little bit of vodka. I'm trying to stay a little bit coherent for the stream, but fucking go grab a beer, man. Let's relax and bullshit together. Elijah goes on to say, may you and countless others feel the solidarity and connection you have likely missed for too long. From courage, come change and hope. It starts and will end because of courageous truth tellers like you. I admire, respect, and I love you. You wonderful goddess, beautiful energy. Which is fine. Okay, if in her own experience, Charisma Carpenter has felt that kind of pressure and fear and on all that shit that Joss Whedon is alleged to have pushed on her, then fine. Sharing her perspective is a brave thing. And it sounds like Elijah is saying like she supports that. She's like, okay, awesome girl. I see you fucking other people have felt the same way from different angles. And she didn't like necessarily call out Joss Whedon in this. She's just like, okay, I got you, girl. I'm holding your hand. You can put your head on my shoulder, and you know, okay. So Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Buffy, the titular character on this series, she says, while I am proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers, I don't want to be forever associated with the name Joss Whedon. Okay, so I've read this quote before. Um, so I will not be making any further statements, blah, blah, blah. So Buffy, the actress, Sarah Michelle Gellar, seems to have a fucking dog in the fight against Joss Whedon. And she's not being very clear about where this is coming from. So I can't say definitively what her fucking stance is on this. She's more concerned about her family, so she's like, yeah, that's fucked up, but I got this shit going on, so yeah. Love you, girl. Okay. Random Brad, he recommends pale ales with the kind of dinner that Snow Dove is cooking. What are you cooking? You don't even say what you're cooking, man. Are you cooking like wild grouse? Are you cooking like macaroni and buffalo wings? What are you doing? I can't really like tell you what beer to drink unless I know what's going on otherwise. And I had this book called the fucking beer dictionary, or like the beer lover's guide to beer or something like that. It was written by this guy who's been tasting beer for about 20-30 years, and his job is to go out and like they pour a shot like in a shot glass of beer, and he takes the shot and then he nibbles a cracker, and then he goes and he takes the next shot and he nibbles a cracker, and he goes and takes the next shot and nibbles a cracker, and writes down like his impressions about it, and then he gets paid by a magazine to go and drink fucking beer. What the hell? How come I'm underneath the fucking crawl, like digging out trenches, and this motherfucker's getting paid to take shots of beer for a review magazine? I'm in the wrong fucking industry, dude. Maybe I should rebrand my channel. I'm like, here's Immortal Coil's beer recommendations based on what's available in Spanaway fucking corner stores. Oh shit. Okay. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Blah 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 blah. Okay, Amber Benson. Now, Amber Benson was on the Buffy show, and she was actually playing a character named Tara, who, after Willow, played by Allison Hannigan, and you might remember Allison Hannigan from American Pie and from How I Met Your Mother. She was like, one time at band camp, I put a flute in my... And then on How I Met Your Mother, she was Marshall's wife. And then on Buffy, she was Willow. And Willow and Amber Benson, whose character was named Tara, had a lesbian relationship. Okay, so yeah, they kissed a couple times on camera. It gave you something to about, but like it was a sweet relationship. Like they actually loved each other and had like moments of like where they argued, and when they were huggy kissy, and when they were not quite so together. But Amber Benson, maybe I should pull up a picture of her so you guys can have a face to connect to. Okay, this is Amber Benson. Again, I thought she was pretty cute. Like, Joss Whedon has a certain aesthetic of the type of actresses he wants to have on camera. And most of them were pretty cute, and most of them are good actresses. You know, I mean, you have a couple people on learning curves, but whatever. So that's her. I'm gonna return to the article. So Amber Benson has uh, another picture up. No, we need to go back to the article. Okay. Amber Benson has this to say: Buffy was a toxic environment and it starts at the top. At All Charisma is speaking truth and I support her 100%. There's a lot of damage done during that time, and many of us are still processing it 20 years plus later. Hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. Hashtag I stand with Charisma Carpenter. And then she retweets Charisma Carpenter's PR statement. Claire Kramer. Where's Claire Kramer? I'm actually going to have to click on this thing and see if it makes sense. Is it switching with me? Probably not. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to okay. Claire Kramer is this person. That looks like so the big bad in what season 5, the one that was trying to get Dawn to be the key. And why can't I fucking think of her name? Thank you. Yes, get savage on that like button. I'm actually gonna have to look this up because I'm drawing a blank. Lori, that's her fucking name. Okay, so Claire Kramer played Glory, and Glory was actually either a demigod or a no shit god, and she was trying to use the blood of Dawn, who was played by Michelle Trachtenberg, in order to um, open a key to reality and let her fucking horde spill through and all that kind of shit. So, what she has to say. Jesus. What she has to say is on the other tab. And I'm still not like great at this. Okay. What she has to say is, for what it's worth, I believe and I stand with at All Charisma, at Ray Fisher, at Amber Benson, and others who have the strength to come forward with their truth. A lot of this industry needs a reset. Hashtag I stand with Charisma Carpenter. Hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. Now, again, she is not leveling direct allegations against Joss Whedon in this. She's just saying, like, look, for whatever trauma you've been through, I'm here with you. Okay. What do you have against Joss Whedon, Claire Kramer? I wonder to myself and to my audience. Random Brad says the Aussie Miller Genuine Drought is a crisp, beautiful drop. Dude, you got to send me some of that. We get Foster's up here, and we get like Foster's Red, and I'm in Washington. Like I should be across the pond from you guys, but like, what the fuck? How come I can't get any Aussie beer out here? I don't know. That's a crime against beer, my friend. So again, we're gonna just drive past. So that's Charisma Carpenters. I don't care about the editorials. So that's what they have to say about that. And then some angry ass hat, and it's an SJW ass hat. Yes, Joss did know the woman he wanted in his shows. Absolutely. And you notice like they're all pretty, but they tend to be pretty in the same way. Like they have a particular bone structure. Their eyes are set a certain amount apart, and they're so big, and they're, you know, yeah. So, but again, I think Taylor goes back to the comic book aesthetic where, you know, remember in X-Men, like Rogue was hot, Storm was hot, Jean Grey was hot, and like they had a specific ratio that makes us as men wanting to like jump up and breed. But you know, that sort of thing has fallen out of favor in recent like SJW times. Just look at the fucking High Republic, man. Would you fuck any of those girls? Because they probably need fucked, but like, would you actually do it? I don't know. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could. So what these guys were saying was like, okay, so we've heard from women, we've heard from strong women who have endured abuse. We've heard from women who just suffered. What happened to the man? Like, what's going on with the man? What's going on with the man? Yes, Jean Grey, so much goodness. Yes. What's going on with the man? How come we haven't heard from the man? So, BuzzFeed, courtesy of Hannah Martyr, is filling us in. And again, like, I don't care what Hannah has to say as a talking head. So here's Charisma's thing. We've read that 3 times. Here's the cast of Buffy. This is probably what, season 4? So that's Giles. That's Buffy. That's Willow. That's Tara. That's Dawn. So this might be season 5. That's Spike. Buffy's boyfriend from the military. That's Xander, and that's Xander's demon girlfriend, whose name escapes me at the moment. So, okay, so that's how they looked back then. Blah blah blah. David Boreanaz. So David Boreanaz played Angel, and we talked about this earlier. Like Angel and Buffy had a romance, and Angel was cursed with the soul. But the second that he realized a moment of happiness, he would lose his soul and turn back into a demon. And it just so happens when he took Buffy's virginity, he lost his soul, and she had to kill him. Except he came back, and he ended up moving back to Los Angeles. He had a good like 4 or 5 seasons as Angel, and then he went on to star in Bones. And he has another show going on right now, but I can't think of it. He's like a special forces guy. I don't know. And David Boreanaz says, "At all charisma, I am here for you to listen and support you. Proud of your strength." Again, very diplomatic. This was on Valentine's Day. He's like, listen, I don't have anything against Joss Whedon. I'm here for you. I'll listen and support you. I'm proud that you're speaking up for whatever the fuck you have to do. But I'm here. and I don't give a shit about what she says. Charisma says, I know you're there for me, David. I appreciate all you've done to demonstrate that support privately as well, especially since Wednesday. Thank you so much. So it seems like the two actors have been talking to each other behind the scenes. And in some senses, if you're an actor out there and you're airing out all your dirty laundry, that's tacky. But look, if you're talking to your girl behind the scenes and you're supporting her and you can go into whatever, great. That's actually the way you should handle it. And it's one of those things. Oh, Taylor says Navy SEALs. That's where David Boreanaz is now. So thank you, sir. I don't even know if that show's any good. Do you like it? Let me know. So yeah, so they're talking behind the scenes. They're not going to air out all this shit in public. James Marsters, who plays Spike, he goes, while I was be honored to have played the character of Spike, the Buffy set was not without challenges. I do not support abuse of any kind, and I'm heartbroken to learn of the experiences some of the cast. I send my love and support to all involved. Again, very diplomatic. I hope he wrote that. I hope his agent didn't write that. But again, so like maybe he was like pissed off a couple times, but it doesn't sound like he's willing to stretch out and say like, yeah, fuck this guy, fuck Joss Whedon. Blah. Very diplomatic. Random Brad says, best thing David Boreanaz ever did was Nightbreed. I am not familiar with that. I might have to look that up. Okay, so this is bullshit. Anthony Stewart Head, who played Giles on Buffy, also spoke about allegations last week, sharing his heartbreak over having not been aware of the abuse. And this is again more editorialization by what's her name? Hannah Martyr. I am gutted, he said, clarifying that I am gutted. I was sort of like a father figure. I would hope that someone would come to me and say, I am struggling. I just had a horrible conversation. Okay. Now, I don't appreciate the shit in between the end quote and the start quote of the second thing, because that frames experience for the people who are reading BuzzFeed, which is something you should never do, by the way. But just read what he says. I am gutted. I was sort of like a father figure because he was older and all these other kids were like 20s. I would hope that somebody would come to me and say, I'm struggling. I just had a horrible conversation. But apparently nobody did. So when asked about Charisma Carpenter, he says, I know that story. It's not a kind story. Blah, blah, blah. I know my relationship with Joss, and there are a lot of kindness, but also a lot of not. Okay. So what that says to me from this guy who played Xander is guys relate to each other in a certain way. And with guys, there's a lot of ribbing. There's a lot of like, you know, kind of gay jokes in some way, kind of dick jokes in some way, but like just like crass humor. That's why I call this shit the savage perspective, because I'm kind of crass. I'm a dick. I'm an asshole at some points. But that's how guys kind of like test other guys' statuses or whatever. So yeah, he might have had that feeling that maybe his boss was being a dick to him at some points, and maybe he was coming off kind of crass, but it sounds like in this quote, Brendan was not willing to fully commit to the side of the story that Charisma Carpenter was promoting. Listen, I'm not going to say, look, if she was pregnant and she was feeling a certain way, she could take things sideways, but that also doesn't fail to suggest that maybe Joss Whedon has some character flaws that he might have to work on. If you're in a position where you're writing and you're directing and you're a showrunner and you're making your people feel inadequate just to get them to acquiesce to your directorial demands, well, that is kind of fucked up. But this guy is going like, well, there was some kindness, but there was also a lot of not. Interesting perspective. Jeff Marriott. I don't even know who this fucking guy is. Jeff Marriott, a writer for the Buffy novels and comics, released a lengthy statement condemning Whedon's actions. I absolutely believe everything Charisma says. It fits with everything I've seen and heard about Joss over the years. He pretends to be a feminist, and he can pull off the pretense for a while, but when the spotlight's off, the truth emerges. // I don't even fucking know what that means. So the last thing we see here is Joss has not responded to any of the allegations. We'll update you if he does. And then they find this picture where he's making this face at you. Yeah, I don't know. Tommy says he could go for some Orange Jubilee right now. Pour some vodka in that and bring me one. I just yeah. And there's only like one other thing that I'm going to talk about before I jump off your dicks. There's one more Joss Whedon show aside from the shit he did for whatever DC or something. And it was a very short-lived show called Firefly. Firefly kind of was like it was kind of like a Western in outer space. This dude right here was a lot like Han Solo, the main guy. We have one of the Baldwins who is like the security dude. We have Summer Glau, who is along with this girl. This is actually Deadpool's girlfriend. And yeah, so we have a lot of like characters who only had 12 episodes to develop, and then the show was canceled. So like the last 3 or 4 episodes, it's getting really, really good, and you want to see where it's going, but then like, nah, it's canceled. So they came up with a TV, or not a TV, a movie called Serenity. I don't know if Serenity is going to pop up in these search results. I can easily find a Serenity poster. Serenity movie. Yeah. Yeah, this movie. Where they took most of the main subplots from what would have been season 2 and tried to condense them into a feature-length film where Summer Glau is revealed to be a programmed assassin, more or less. But she's hiding behind a veneer of mental illness, which is it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting topic. But the thing is, like, okay, if Joss Whedon is such a fucking high, hard dick, nobody from Serenity has said anything yet. And I feel like around the corner, they're going to be pressured by, yes, Taylor, fuck you, Fox, for canceling Firefly. That was a great show. And again, like the last 3-4 episodes, it was really going somewhere, but we just didn't get the fucking payoff because these guys are dicks. But again, yes, Snowdub, Yes, you do need to buy this movie. You have heard too much shit about it. This is like the third time that the universe is smacking you in the face with this information. Go buy it, go rent it, go stream it somehow. Uh, Figure it out on the dark side of the web if you have to. It's a good movie. And if you have watched Firefly, it's even better. I would actually say watch Firefly first. And again, like any TV show, there's going to be slow parts, there's going to be fast parts, there's going to be great parts. Yes, you've been Serenity pimp slapped. Yes, you have, sir. So watch Firefly, watch all those episodes, charge through it. It probably takes about 12 hours of your day. And then watch Serenity. That's about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. But oh my God, sir. Like, so if you just take that as a chunk of fucking story, um, you'll get what I'm saying. So yes, Joss Whedon is a great storyteller. He's a good writer. He came up with several very important properties, but I had anybody from Serenity or Firefly speak up and say like, oh, he was a fucking Adolf Hitler running around tyrannical, pinching like goosing girls in the ass and twisting nipples and shit. You know, I honestly, at this point, without further dialogue from the people who actually went through this, I don't know that I can authoritatively speak definitively about what I perceive. It's just like this pattern. So he fucked up at DC. Um, People are moving in to try to cancel him. People from Buffy and people from Angel, who were like years before all this, is saying like, well, he treated us a certain kind of way. Nobody from Serenity, nobody from Firefly has spoken up. So, you know, which way is the pendulum swinging? And let me know which way the pendulum's swinging for you. Drop me a comment, share this podcast. Let me know what you guys want to see featured on future editions of the Savage Perspective. I'll be back next week on Wednesday doing another live stream. I have another couple of videos about to drop. So I appreciate your patience. Thanks for fucking hanging out with me. Um, you know, be kind to one another. Um, what's that thing that Steven likes to say? Wash your hands and wash your ass. I can't rightfully steal that from him because you know, that's his fucking thing. But what I can do is try to leave you guys on a positive note. I'm going to show you this thing that I made all by myself. All by myself. Yeah. Where the fuck are you guys? There. All by myself. Okay. Almost there. Okay. We're going to leave you with this video that I made. It's a Pantera song that I had just recently found. Apparently, when they reissued Reinventing the Steel, they found a bunch of like buried tracks. So what I did is I found this song called Immortally Insane, and I made this in the image and likeness of Darth fucking Maul. So enjoy this. This is what I'm going to send you off with. Hopefully the audio plays. And we will talk to you guys later.
Death like silence, red cloud shakes, erase their walls, immortality, the undying battle of extinction. Who would believe in sanctuary? Sanctuary. Weapons of lilt are post-historic. Life is yielded unto sour ground. A desert shell is designated. A warning to you, the man and beast. Destroy it. Foundation. Tranquil place, the prophecy lives its hateful days. The war is like lightning, strike again and again, separating the lamb from the wolf in man. No sanctuary. Survivors will rise from strength and weight. The skulls of rivals lay in rows on the sand. The seeds of breeding spawn on the race, creating more for the next war. Destroy it, destroy it. Foundation, going forever. Immortally insane. Immortally insane. Immortally insane. Immortally insane. Say yeah.